What began as a regional war between Russia and Ukraine has now entered an entirely new and far more dangerous phase. In recent weeks, President Vladimir Putin appears to have made a fateful decision to raise the stakes to their highest point yet. After the collapse of secret negotiations with Donald Trump, reportedly seen as the last chance for even a temporary truce, the Kremlin has chosen a different path. Massive escalation. Russia has launched a sweeping campaign to cripple Ukraine's entire energy system. The attacks come in relentless waves, hundreds of kamikaze drones and cruise missiles striking power plants, substations, and distribution lines all at once. Kyiv, Dnipro, Kharkiv, Lviv. Explosions echo again across the nation. Millions are plunged into darkness, cut off from electricity, heating, and water. This is not just another round of missile strikes, it's a calculated operation, one meant to plunge Ukraine into an energy blackout as winter approaches. Ukrainian officials call it energy terrorism, accusing Russia of deliberately provoking a humanitarian catastrophe. Sources in Kyiv claim that these precision strikes are coordinated from special command centers in Crimea and Rostov, where Russian operators monitor real-time data on grid damage. The Kremlin insists otherwise, calling the bombardment a retaliation for Ukrainian drone attacks on Russian oil refineries. Indeed, Ukraine has shifted its tactics. Facing massive infrastructure losses, Kyiv is hitting back, targeting the weak points of Russia's own economy, its oil industry. In recent weeks, swarms of Ukrainian drones have struck refineries in Bryansk, Belgorod, Lipetsk, and Ryazan. Several facilities are now completely out of operation, with damages estimated in the billions.
We are depriving Russia of the lifeblood of its war, oil.
Without stable fuel supplies, Russia's military machine loses momentum, while its vital oil exports, the main source of the Kremlin's foreign currency, begin to crumble. But the escalation is taking an even darker turn. NATO's satellite data shows Russian missiles flying dangerously close to Ukrainian nuclear power plants, especially around the South Ukrainian and Khmelnytsky sites. Several explosions have already occurred within just a few kilometers of active reactor units. European experts warn that even a single stray missile could trigger a disaster on the scale of Chernobyl. A radioactive plume could reach Poland, Romania, Hungary, and the rest of Central Europe within hours. Panic is spreading through Brussels. Emergency meetings are being held to assess how close Europe is to a nuclear catastrophe.
If Russia keeps striking near nuclear facilities, the consequences could be irreversible.
Germany and France have activated their radiation monitoring systems. Poland is quietly preparing evacuation plans for its border regions. The United Nations has condemned the situation as an unacceptable threat to all of Europe, demanding an immediate halt to all military activity within 50 kilometers of any nuclear plant. Moscow has ignored these calls. On Russian state television, propagandists claim Ukraine is to blame, alleging that weapons depots and NATO training bases are hidden near nuclear sites. Meanwhile, the White House is under growing pressure. After Trump's failed talks with Putin, Washington's political class is bitterly divided. Some demand that the U.S. increase arms deliveries to Ukraine and impose total sanctions on all Russian banks. Others warn that pushing too hard might drive Putin toward even more reckless decisions.
We are standing on the brink of a third world war.
At the same time, Russia is reinforcing its military positions along its western borders, in Belgorod, Kursk, and Bryansk. New air defense systems, Iskander missile complexes, and S-400 launchers are being deployed.
Russia is ready for anything.
Ukraine, for its part, has intensified its drone offensive. Videos circulating online show oil depots erupting into fireballs, the night sky glowing red for miles. The impact is real. Fuel prices in several Russian regions have nearly doubled, and the government has imposed restrictions on gasoline sales to prevent shortages. Economists call it the start of a new energy war, fought not only on the battlefield but across the pipelines, grids, and markets that power modern Europe. Putin is trying to freeze Ukraine while Ukraine is trying to cut off Russia's oil lifeline. Both sides are striking at the other's arteries, and the entire continent is paying the price. Energy costs across Europe are surging again. Markets are trembling. Utility companies are preparing for what analysts now describe as the worst-case scenario, a total collapse of supply chains from the region. But beneath all of this lies an even deeper strategy. Analysts believe Putin is escalating deliberately, gambling that the West fears direct confrontation more than hardship.
His message to Europe is clear. Your warmth, your energy, your stability all depend on decisions made in the Kremlin.
If Europeans shiver through a dark winter, Moscow will blame Western sanctions, not Russian missiles. Meanwhile, Ukraine, battle-hardened and increasingly technologically advanced, is adapting fast. Its long-range drones now travel hundreds of kilometers, bypassing Russian electronic defenses and hitting high-value targets with precision. These are no longer symbolic gestures. They represent a systematic campaign to bleed Russia's war economy dry. Inside Russia, the mood is shifting. Authorities are tightening control over information, instructing media not to show fuel shortages, long gas lines, or infrastructure damage. The atmosphere recalls the late Soviet years, when propaganda tried to preserve the illusion of stability amid growing internal decay. The European Union is weighing new measures, including a full ban on Russian LNG exports. In Washington, officials are considering the seizure of Russian oil company assets abroad. The stakes are climbing not just militarily, but economically. Every move now risks triggering a global energy crisis that could ripple from Europe to Asia. On the ground, the front lines remain largely static, but the war of nerves is intensifying. Each side is striking deeper, harder, and with greater precision. And while the world watches images of burning power plants and missile-lit skies over Ukraine, another struggle is unfolding quietly in Brussels, one that could decide Europe's future. EU leaders are now divided like never before. Some push for harsher action against Moscow. Others warn that another round of sanctions or weapons shipments could drag Europe directly into the conflict. Poland and the Baltic states insist that if Putin isn't stopped now, they'll be the next targets. Germany and France, however, remain hesitant, torn between domestic pressure and international responsibility.
Russia is challenging all of Europe. If we don't respond now, tomorrow will be too late.
Those words have already dominated international headlines, because Germany's stance may determine how far Europe is willing to go for Kiev. Meanwhile, Ukraine is achieving what once seemed impossible, bringing the war deep into Russian territory. Every day, social media fills with videos of burning refineries, ammunition depots, and industrial sites, some just dozens of kilometers from Moscow itself. The world is holding its breath, watching a war in the heart of Europe transform into something larger, a game without rules, where one wrong move could ignite a global catastrophe. The world is holding its breath, watching a war in the heart of Europe transform into something larger, a game without rules, where one wrong move could ignite a global catastrophe. Russia is ready for anything.